Welcome to Grief Chat with myself, Mark Lemon. For today's episode, I'm delighted to be speaking with Michael Pollard and Jordan Glenn. Welcome, guys.
Hiya, how you doing?
So thank you so much for taking the time out of your, your busy days, wherever you are, like we just said, across the country. And I was just wondering if maybe you could give the audience a brief introduction as to who you are and your own experience with grief, please. And I'll come to you first, Michael.
Hiya. So I'm a dad of 4 sons, 3 of which I haven't brought home with me. In 2017, my wife went into early labour and at 19 weeks pregnant, and my 2 sons were stillborn at 19 weeks. A year later, we were pregnant again, and at 24 weeks pregnant, another different medical incident happened, which meant going into early labour again. And my other son, Zach, was stillborn at 24 weeks. So I'm lucky enough to gone on to had a son 6 months ago, but it's not all 4 boys at home, which it should be.
Yeah. And how about you, Jordan?
I too am a dad, but not to any that are with me. I had stillborn twins in 2015. My wife had a rupture of the membrane, which meant that there was still fluid around them, but there was always at risk of getting an infection, which she did. So she subsequently got sepsis and was in intensive care for a week with multi-organ failure, and eventually getting stuff like jaundice and pneumonia whilst being in ITU. But yeah, same as Mike, really. Just still a dad, but just at the minute still haven't got any children that are here. Just the twins.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, guys, because it's never an easy thing to tell, is it? I know you guys are quite vocal about it, but this week is Baby Loss Awareness Week, which is obviously a big week in the year, particularly for you guys. But I was just wondering how important this week is for you as a community, and I'll come to you first, Jordan.
Yeah, I think it's very important, obviously. But until something like this happens to you, obviously you're kind of immune or naive to the fact that this sort of stuff goes on. You kind of see it, but you don't take much in. But until obviously it happens, then you become more aware of it. And since the team's been formed since last January, obviously we try and support Baby Loss Awareness Week as best we can, and support the lads that are around us as much as each other. So yeah, it means a great deal to us now.
How about you, Michael?
Yeah, I think the Baby Loss Awareness Week in general is a time to focus on people's losses more so than we do. We are champion in people breaking the silence of the taboo, talking about baby loss. And like Jordan alluded to there, it does happen. People are very naive to it, and more so than people think. We are the 1 in 4 that it's happened to in pregnancies, and that's not a small percentage at all. Baby Loss Awareness Week gives us that opportunity to promote it. Other people are promoting the awareness, and we get to mention our babies' names also, and people understand why we're doing it. Like I say, around the year, we have our football shirts, we wear our babies' names with pride, we talk about them, and we're helping more and more men do this. But this week, by other people promoting it, we can also have the confidence and have the pride to talk about our babies, which sometimes you are within yourself and you don't really want to talk about it, and this really does give us the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and I know you're both fantastic advocates for the charity SANS. I was just wondering whether you could both just give us a bit more insight as to the fantastic work that they carry out, and also tell us a bit about the team that you're involved in. And that's to you, Jordan.
Yeah, so SANS do obviously a lot of great work supporting families that have gone through the loss of a child. They've got multiple support networks around the country, and the packs that they get, so like online and stuff like that. Um, with the football, obviously, we started the team January 2018, had 10 members in our first meeting. And I think we're currently up to something like nearly 40 now, Mike, I think, like within our WhatsApp. So it's grown considerably, which is great. But obviously at the same time, it's the harsh reality of the reason as to why they're in the team. And it's because they've lost a child or children. So, but we try and support each other daily. Even this morning, one of the lads put a post out, a bit of a story about how he lost his daughter and stuff, and everyone straight away is just so quick to jump on and say thanks for letting us know like what happened. Should be very proud of you, like just really supportive stuff, and it's very uplifting, especially when it comes from someone that's been through the same thing. I think this now is a personal opinion. I feel that it's more sincere and heartfelt when it comes from someone that's been through it, because you know that they're probably aching for you, saying the same thing. But yeah, that's. I think SANS do a wonderful job, and their support's really supportive of the team and the teams that are popping up around the country.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah, so I was first made aware of SANS when I was in the bereavement suite that the hospital had. There was some documents on the table. So like 3 o'clock in the morning, my wife's trying to get some rest. The boys sadly were in their cold cot in the room with us, but I was just awake and I didn't know what to do with myself. And there was a desk with some drawers, and I was having a root through, really. I was trying to find something, and there was a pamphlet I picked up, and it said SANS, and I'd never heard of them before. And like in the football team, like John alluded to, we've got all these guys, but not necessarily everybody is aware of SANS. And SANS tries their best to help in these situations. There's many other small charities around that are helping, but this is just one that I was made aware of, and I read more into it and took it home and spoke to my wife, and then I found out the local SANS group in Tunbridge Wells are a big supporter of the hospital, and they're the ones that provided that suite for us. Upon looking into things, not all hospitals have these opportunities for the SANS groups to be able to provide for the hospitals, and so they're really working behind the scenes to try and allow and put these things in place for everybody, so they can be as looked after as we were. The bereavement midwives at the hospital are again funded by SANS. There's much more than the bereavement care as well. They're also trying to prevent baby loss, and lots of research going in with research facilities around the world. I think really trying to get the awareness, get the funding out there to prevent. And I believe from when I first heard about them, they used to use the stat of it was a baby, is it 15 babies a day sadly die, whereas now it's down to 14 babies a day, which is amazing that research and everything is working. And through the whole SANS thing, we got in touch with I got in touch with the charity because I spotted there was a team set up in Northampton, and it was the only team in the country at the time. And obviously being in Kent, it's quite a distance. We couldn't travel there and back all the time to play. So, we got together and we decided to set up a team in Kent itself. And like I say, a few social media posts, and we had 10 people turn up at the first meeting. And like I say, if it's evolved from that, we then decided to no longer have a meeting. We'll go back to the football pitch, and then we'll just say, if you want to come down and play football, come and do it. And if you want to talk about your baby, it's a safe place to do so, because we can relate. Through setting the team up and meeting new people coming along, the social media is growing, so people are more aware. We're having people being directed to us from other people seeing the social media. So some people hadn't even heard of us a year ago, and now they're joining the team now. But everybody has got their own individual story. But with having such a big group of dads now in our team, there's always someone that could relate in a more similar way, which is amazing. Like I never knew anybody that had twins, and my wife went into septic shock. And then
this is what we said originally, didn't it? Because
yeah.
I thought when this happened to me, I thought that my story was going to be so unique. I didn't think that anyone would have lost twins. I didn't think that anyone's wife would get sepsis and nearly go themselves. I never thought that. And then I spoke to Mike, who was in this room of 10 guys. We're all going around sort of saying how we got to this meeting. And I'm listening to Mike and I'm thinking, this is crazy. Like, it's pretty much like he's talking about my wife. And then vice versa. Obviously, when he hears my story, it's the same for him. But yeah, sorry to butt in. That was just a big thing, wasn't it? You just think that your story is so unique, but you don't realise actually how common it is.
Yeah, proving we aren't alone in this. What's happening? It's to be able to relate to somebody else, on the same level it's been massive for us to be able to talk about it.
I was going to say the power of the group that you've set up is you have a group of fathers who can support each other, and like you say, Jordan, you both relate to each other, and it's more common than people actually realise in terms of your unique experiences. And I'm just kind of wondering how, as fathers, you felt supported through your grief, after the loss that you've experienced. There's obviously, there's a lot of fantastic support out there, some great charities like Sands, like Tommy's. But I was just wondering how you both feel as men, as fathers, how you've experienced your grief and how you've kind of navigated it. And I guess on the flip side, how important this group has been to you guys. And that's to you, Mike.
I think it's a very lonely place, to be honest. To everybody asking how the wife is, how is everybody. No one really ever asks, but how are you? And that is something that, it's hard to describe the feeling there. It's lonely, I guess, is the word for it. But to be able to now talk openly, and people do realise, we use a hashtag on Twitter sometimes, if I'm still a dad, and people, the mother is obviously carried the baby. The mother has done everything she can, but from the moment we found out we were pregnant, that was fatherhood for me, and that will always be fatherhood. And no one can take that away. I was preparing myself for the life that we envision, and to no longer have that, at that time, to not be able to bring that baby home and, father the child as you wanted to, there's a piece missing from you. But now I think it may be because I'm so vocal about it, people do recognize it and people are talking, and therefore hopefully in their life, to speaking to other people, if they come across it, that it has that knock-on effect and it snowballs, that it's still the dad's baby as well. It's not just the mum's baby. And that's where the team has championed this story all the way. And people now see, okay, the support side of it is, we're not sat in a room going, hi, I'm Michael and I've lost 3 babies. I'm playing football because that is what I love doing. And for that 90 minutes that we go out and play football, or that 1 hour we're together at training, your worries go for a bit. You're just a football team. But at the same time, if you're not feeling great, you can just throw someone a look or say something. They just get it straight away, and they know, it can be a hand on the shoulder, it can be a word in the ear, it can be a hug, you can cry, you can say the name, you can do whatever you want. But that is what is so amazing about what this team has provided for everybody.
Yeah, it's very powerful, isn't it? How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, like at the start, I must admit, I didn't really care about support for me, because obviously, as this stigma with men. You've got to be the alpha male. You've got to be head of the house. You've got to take on all the big responsibilities in life. And when something like that happens, that becomes a big responsibility. And your wife or your partner's care is a massive thing, but it does get forgotten about, because like Mike said, when you find out that you're having a baby, that doesn't just affect the woman, that affects you both, because that's your child. That's going to be the start of your new life in this different new challenge. But once you lose a child, it's almost like that side of from the dad sort of kind of gets dropped, and it's like, well, she was the one that was carrying, she was the one that made your baby and felt the physical effects. But I'm a firm believer that, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't take anything away from my wife or any of the lads' wives. What they've been through is horrific, but the mental side of things as well can be just have such the same impact, I would say, just from an outsider's point of view. Obviously, I don't know, because I didn't give birth to the baby, but it does have a massive impact mentally, because you're fighting to make sure that your partner's okay. You're trying to make sure that everything that you're doing is the right thing. You don't want to do anything to upset them. But I think I was a bit sceptical about the team at first, because obviously I've come from a footballing background. I've always been involved in football. I've always loved playing football. And then I thought, well, do I really want to go somewhere with a bunch of lads that are just going to be sort of feeling how I'm feeling? Could it make me worse? But after that first meeting, there was nothing I wanted more than just to push this, really, because just hearing all the other stories and how other people dealt with it, like how me and Mike were in such a similar situation, but how he dealt with it completely different to what I did, and how our stories are still very different from after that, because of how you sort of deal with your problems. But I do think that now in the team, like what Mike said, you can go there and you can have a cry, you can have a moan, but sometimes you have a cry and a moan, it's not even about what we're playing for, it's just about general life. And for me, that's a massive thing, because if I am worrying about things, like my anniversary is in September, so it's just gone, and throughout September I was pretty much a negative. I was just I wasn't talking much in the groups, not because I didn't want to, but it's just that time of year. I think I just sort of get little triggers and stuff like that. But when I get to football, it changes. Like what Mike says, for the hour of training, the 90 minutes on the game, it's you forget about all that. And I can't. Now I know how much this helps the lads. We are just doing everything we can to make this work and continue, and still like support everyone.
Do you think, Jordan, over the last couple of years, this massive stigma around sort of male mental health and us being able to open up? And have you found over the last couple of years that you've just seen men who maybe at the beginning were struggling to open up? And like you say, you're a bit skeptical at the beginning, but now you're seeing them kind of, feel a bit more free to express how they're feeling. Have you seen that with members of the team? And it's because you're such a unit.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, obviously it's like anything, like when you meet someone for the first time, there's that sort of awkwardness and you might start chatting after. But now that everyone knows that, like, I've done it, Mike's done it, we've been to a game, and I've got to a game and I stand around the centre circle and we have a minute's silence if it's someone's anniversary, and just that, it just makes you think of how they're feeling, because you know how you were feeling back in September or March or whenever your anniversary was. And it is a powerful thing, and people are sort of coming out their shell. We've had people that maybe have come out their shell a bit too much, and they've taken themselves away from it. Just have a small break from the football side of things, but they're still in the support groups and they still offer their support to other people, and that's how they sort of bring themselves out. But I think more recently, I think it's helped that, not just with stillbirth, but obviously men's mental health, people coming out, talking about their own personal sort of demons. Like I know Professor Green, the rapper, he said about his problems and stuff. And then I think that what that does is, when there's someone that's sort of a bit of an icon to certain people, and then someone else sees that and they think, do you know what, I'm going to speak about mine. And then after that, it just carries on. And I think everyone does then sort of think after that, it's so cliche, but it is a massive weight off your shoulders. You feel so much better for just having a chat.
No, absolutely. Mike, would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think men's mental health is gone from nothing to 100 in the last couple of years of people talking about it. It's especially around the sporting world. You're reading so many stories about, ex-pros that we idolized and looked up to that actually have now come out and spoke about the problems that they were having. And it shocks you sometimes. You think, I didn't even realize that. And I know there was the Freddie Flintoff documentary was on the other day talking about bulimia, but but it might not be the same subject, but it still relates one way. Like it still comes full circle, and just to now be advocates of men speaking up and talking about it, it's changing the world and the way people think about it. Even like I said, when we do that minute silence on a football pitch, the other team might not understand what we're about, and then when you go and speak to them and ask for this minute silence and everybody then stands there, it kind of just resets everybody's mindset again and just goes, do you know what, it's just a game at the end of the day. This is what we're out to have fun. We're not out there to cause hurt, injury, anything. We're out there to play a game that we all love, and we're doing it for a reason, and this is our reason why we do it.
I think you touched on something there, Mike, just quickly about like the other teams, the support that we've had as well from the other teams, bearing in mind that some of these guys have not, like Mike said, none of them experienced stillbirth or anything, but every single time, like our first season, obviously we were new to the league and we basically had to stand in front of the league and you basically get voted in by the other teams. And it was the quickest unanimous decision that we got, because obviously you get asked questions like, are you going to make 11 on the weekend? Because obviously there's so many of you coming all over different parts of Kent. And we're like, we promise that we will have them people. And then hands are up. And then you say to them, do you mind if we do a minute silence because it's, I don't know, Mike's anniversary or Jordan's anniversary? And they go, absolutely. And they're in the central circle with us. Their heads down. They're clapping at the end. And even just that, being supportive of someone that's not even been affected by it, that's a big thing as well. Because it just shows that it doesn't matter who you are and what you're about. People support. Yeah, just to support. It's been mad throughout the league. It's just been brilliant from the boys.
And then that kind of shows you how far we've come along, doesn't it? Like you were saying, Mike, over the last couple of years, like you said about Professor Green, Jordan, like, all these high profile people talking about mental health, talking about grief, like this festival. I think it's really important, isn't it, for, to highlight lots of different elements of mental health and how it can affect us. And I'm just wondering if you've both got any tips that have helped you with your grief, that you might be able to impart to the viewers. Little nuggets of gold that might have helped you along the way, that might help somebody else. How about you, Jordan? Anything there that you could share?
Most definitely talking. I know it's like that's the sort of the first and sort of main step, but the biggest thing is obviously plucking the courage up to do it, and it does help with these high profile people. Like Rio Ferdinand, he done the one on his wife dying, and then how you deal with life after with the kids and stuff. Someone like that who you think he's a professional football player, he's played for his country, he's played for one of the best teams in the world. You sort of almost think like that doesn't affect people like him, but it does, and that just shows that if someone like him can speak out, why can't someone like us? But when you do, and when you talk, and when you first sort of get it out there, it's that feeling of just a weight lifted off your shoulder, and you feel so much better. And then every time that you talk about it, you feel more confident speaking about it again. And Mike has done it for the team since the start. He was the first one to say his story, and then that led 5-6 other lads to say their story. Then that led the rest of the boys to say their story, and then before you know it, everyone's talking about what they've gone through. Everyone's talking about how they're feeling, and then there's a laugh and a cry, and then you just feel like you've got this burst of energy. You've just been so drawn out and so like exhausted with having all this on your shoulders, and then as soon as you just let that go, it's just a feeling like no other. It's just, you can start again, fresh page. It's not going to say you're not going to feel like that again, but it's just that that release. And Mike's been a complete advocate for the team. He's been at the forefront of everything, and with people like Mike who do speak out for us and able to talk about things, it allows other people to talk, and I think that would be the main thing for me personally is chatting, having a chat.
I think the line of, was it, a problem shared is a problem halved, is a great line, and by me sharing my story, I'm not carrying it alone anymore. The weight is spread across my support network, and that support network will come back to support me. And the bigger that network is, the bigger the support. By opening and talking, not even away from my wife, I can talk about this with the boys at football, but then it clears my head to then come back home and not bring problems home and more problems. It allows me to, my wife might not have the big support network of a football team, but once my problems have been released, so to speak, I can come back and I can then put myself in the right headspace to help her. And yeah, that's just a little nugget there, just to help, like say, a problem shared is a problem halved.
I think sort of talking, sharing, I know from my own experience through being creative, through just openly kind of sharing with somebody else who might be isn't your partner, is very powerful. And like you say, Mike, it enables you to go home and then support your wife. So Mike, Jordan, I just want to say a big thank you for today. It's been amazing to talk with you both, and congratulations with Sands and the football team and everything that you guys are doing, just to shine a light on baby loss and also mental health, just for helping men, making them realize that it's okay to talk and open up about your feelings. And I think that's all we can do really at the moment, which is fantastic. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and spreading more awareness. Thank you.